One. It's an absolute pleasure today to have Aaron on the podcast from Mental Health Muscle. The subject we're going to sort of discuss today in these slightly challenging times, obviously with the Covid-19 outbreak or pandemic, or whatever you want to call it, is tips for optimizing your mental health during these challenging times for some people. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem at all, Charlie. I appreciate you having me, mate. It's a life goal for me to be on a podcast with you, my man. So thank you very much for having me. So yeah, just a quick synopsis about me, I suppose. I kind of got two hats, really. So my main hat, my career hat, is I'm a community development manager in local authority down in Devon. And a huge part of my work is looking after vulnerable people. So those that are struggling with domestic violence, alcohol and drug issues, behavioural issues with children at school, etc., community dynamics, family dynamics, and underneath all of that is this huge underlying mental health presence. So that's kind of what I do in my day-to-day job. Many people, particularly in the fitness industry, will know me from founding Mental Health Muscle, as you rightly said at the beginning there. So we ran that not-for-profit organisation for the last 2.5 years. I brought it to a close before Christmas just because of life circumstances, but never say never. We'll bring that back and we'll be doing that in the future for sure. But the movement and the legacy very much lives on. You know, it's about bringing together mental health support and mental health promotion through fitness, through exercise, and just giving people that outlet and that belonging and that empowerment to really maximize their mental well-being by using fitness and sport as a way to do that, really. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of me.
I think one of the things you said there was interesting, and it's definitely a tool that I use to alter my mood. I find I definitely, at the moment, I wake up in a good mood and I get in a bit of a crap mood by mid-morning. So then that's when I purposely will go and train, because then it completely clears my mind and alters my mindset, and then I'm in a good mood again. So for me, I'm very self-aware and I understand how to manipulate myself. So I structure my day in that way accordingly. Do you find that fairly common?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's even more prevalent at the moment because people aren't able to do that exact routine.
It's taking something away from them.
Yeah, it's like I kind of felt working in the career that I do and kind of seeing online, etc. I was well aware that gyms were going to close before Friday. You know, I knew that was happening. I think a lot of us knew it was coming, but it wasn't only until that moment they announced it that for a lot of people, including myself, my anxiety went from manageable 3-4 to 7 and 8 out of 10. Oh my God, I can't go to the gym. And it was that kind of realization and that legit moment that was like, God, I can't go anymore. I knew this was coming. So why have I not prepared myself for this moment? But here we are. I'm in a position now where I definitely can't go. What the hell do I do? So structure for a lot of people was removed, and it wasn't in anyone's control either, which is another thing that I'll talk about today. You know, things that are in our control and things that aren't in our control. You know, when things are in our control, we are the only ones that can maximize how we do those things and what we do with them. But when it's gone and it's taken from us, there's nothing you can do. So you need to very quickly find alternatives, which for a lot of people is a hard feat.
100%. I think it's human nature as well. The more you only want something more when it's taken away from you as well, when you can't do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is a funny one, and I suppose that's where the prominence is on, you know, trying to utilize all the things that we do have access to, and be grateful for the things that we do have within our 4 walls and within our kind of our lifestyle. What we can do to replace those things that we can't at the moment do. You know, a lot of people have really gone to the extremes to find stuff to lift a weight with, to throw around the garden. You know, I've seen videos of people doing all sorts of things to kind of implement that gym routine style thing, which is fantastic, you know, yet to time to really get creative. But yeah, you know, I'm totally with you, Charlie. For me, the gym has been a sanctuary. It's been an escape for many years of my life. And since very early ages, at 14, 15, when I lost my best mate to suicide, you know, the gym and rugby at the time was my go-to escape. It was my only place that I could go to that I really found a belonging and a place of you know what, forget what's going on outside
Freedom.
just for the moment and really focus in on that 2 hours in the gym or with a rugby ball in my hand with the boys and really forget about life's difficulties. And when you haven't got that and all you've got is your four walls or a garden, if you're lucky, you know, things are different. Things become very different for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's and particularly I think what's interesting now is like we're only, I don't know how many days is it now, 7 or 8 days into this.
Yeah.
I think the thing
Yep,
that really
seven,
concerns me is people's headspace now more than ever, where they are being isolated and locked in a lot more on their own. Like that, and then also combined with people who are now not having the opportunity to have that release of going to the gym, you're almost like bottling up a bit of a storm in some respects.
Yeah, totally. And that will happen naturally, you know. For a lot of people, the gym is like it's a release of all that stress. But if you haven't got that place that you have been so used to and adapted to for so very long, and all of a sudden it disappears, where is that stress and where is that anxiety? Where is that mental build up going? You know, unfortunately for a lot of us, it's going to those that we live with, perhaps, or it's not going anywhere, and it continues to build up inside of us continually and continually. And instead of having small moments of anxiety bursts or small moments of low mood, it's building up into a massive outburst of low mood and anxiety and worry and stress, and that's kind of what's happening. I know that's certainly my case. From a personal experience, you know, I've always had the gym every day to go and release that tiny little bit of load, that tiny little bit of angst. But when that's not there, and it hasn't been for the last 7 days, I find myself having 2 or 3 days off, and then one day where I'm just really struggling, and my anxiety's high. I feel low mood. I feel anxious. I'm sweating. I'm feeling a bit nauseous. Do you know what I mean? And I could manage that much better when I had the outlet there, and the outlet now isn't there. So
Are you aware when you feel anxious?
Most of the time, yes, because I think for me, I have, because of my career and because of my experience and my knowledge around mental health, I'm able to recognize the things happening much sooner than your average Joe would. So yes, I'd certainly notice myself when it's happening, but sometimes it is just too much, Charlie, that doesn't matter whether I've recognized it or not. There's just nothing I can do to stop that tiny little moment of like collapse, you know. And there's nothing you can do about that. Sometimes you can see things coming, but you just can't stop them, and that's kind of the situation with that. You just have to do your very best to manage it, really, mate.
100%. Do you have any, so like talking some tips how people can proactively try and deal with some of these challenges at the moment, from anxiety to depression? Should we start going through some of your top tips for that?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So the first thing is keeping a structure. You know, I mentioned this to you just before we started this. So keeping a structure, getting up in the morning, getting dressed, having breakfast as normal as you would before you go to work. Get dressed into a different set of clothes. Don't stay in your pajamas all day. You know, this isn't a holiday, and you don't want to be in holiday mode for all of isolation, because that will just completely destroy any routine that you had before all of this started. You know, if you're working from home, which a lot of us are, create yourself a space somewhere. So don't work from your bed. Don't work from your living room with kids programs or a movie on in the background, because that's not how you'd operate at work. So set yourself out. I love what you do with your podcast, Charlie, where you are right now in the shed. That's perfect. You know, you don't go in the shed to do anything other, unless you're an avid gardener, than do your podcasting and do your work and write your programs. That's your space. So you know that's mentally where your work and your most productivity is.
I used to really struggle with that, because I used to just work on the dining room table at home, and it
Yeah.
caused arguments because I'd be in work mode, wouldn't want to talk. My wife would want to talk to me, and I end up biting her head off, to be honest with you, because I'm one of those people, if I'm into something and trying to focus, I can't be distracted or talk about something else. I can only focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah. I can totally relate, mate. And I'm in that position now with my wife. You know, we're both on the dining room table doing work, and it just doesn't work. So I try and scoot off somewhere. Ideally, at the moment, the last week, it's been the car. Is the best place that I could just, yes, okay, it's not an office, but it's quiet. I've got my stuff in place. I can use the dashboard as a desk. You know what I mean? Just trying to use the best that we can to get that to get that mental space that we all need for our work. You know, taking the breaks, so not working through your lunch break because you're at home and you're at home, so who cares? Like, take a lunch break, take a proper lunch break, take a 15-minute morning break, take a half an hour, 45 break in the afternoon, and kind of keep that routine very much in place. When you finish work, put your laptops in the drawer, put your laptops away, put everything that you've been working on away, and resort to that family, that personal, that social life that we all have when we get back from work. Cook dinner, you know, talk to your wife, talk to your boyfriend, your girlfriend, interact with your children, watch some television. You know, try and make that as normal as possible. This isn't a normal situation, as we have all experienced over the last week. So try and make your life and your day-to-day routine as normal as possible. You know, brush your teeth before you go to bed. The amount of people that stop doing those things, hygiene, combing their hair, showering, you know, having a bath. People just forget to do it because all of a sudden you're at home and who cares? No one's seeing me, no one's smelling me apart from my partner. But for you mentally, that's kind of knocking away at that routine that you've set yourself for God knows how many years. So keep doing that and keep trying to keep on top of it.
100%. I think there's a lot of advice there. I think it's a slippery slope when you start not getting dressed properly at home, and then you start doing it a bit later, and then these bad habits start to creep in, and then those habits manifest, and then they'll be very difficult to undo.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And you just don't want to get into that position because it will happen much quicker than you think. You know, you think to yourselves, I can do this. It's fine. I'll next week I'll assess the situation and I'll do it for another week. But it takes much more effect much quicker than that. You know, you're only talking a few days to, what is it? They say 21 days to create a habit. You know, I'm actually a believer that 10 days is enough to create a bad habit when you're at home, isolated, not doing anything. You know, so really get on top of that.
I mean, it's a lazy habit because your body will automatically default to lazy and the easiest thing it can do. So if you're giving yourself the option, you start to take that option of getting up an hour later, watching Netflix for 4 hours, like into midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, these are all bad habits that will start to get worse and worse and have a negative effect on your life and your health.
Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more at all. Yeah, so the next one I'm talking, I think a big one, Charlie, if you don't mind me saying, is perspective.
This is a phase, is one thing I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's just trying to have a perspective on everything that you do in your life, trying not to worry about how things might affect you all the time, and just recognizing that this is temporary. You know, as hard as it is for a lot of people and as tough as this situation is for many, you know, it is a temporary thing, and this isn't going to go on for years and years and years. And I think the sooner that we can assess that, and the sooner we can trust that process, the easier things will be in these tough times. So just really trying to gain a perspective on things, you know, trying not to let things consume us too much and overwhelm us, and just staying quite grounded and stable with what we're doing. You know, I'm very much about the here and now. So I talk a lot about mindfulness and gratitude with quite a lot of people a lot of the time. And this is exactly a period for us to try and be as mindful and as grateful for the things that we have right now. So the here and now.
I think what's interesting you said about being grateful is, as I referred to earlier on, is that you only ever really appreciate something when it's taken away from you. And now we've lost a lot of our freedom almost. So that makes you think like, how fortunate are you to be able to go out for dinner, to go to the gym, to go and see your mum or whatever it is. Like, and then suddenly when you're not allowed to go and do that anymore, you can't fly around the world, you can't do anything. You're like, it suddenly gives you more perspective, as you said, and the reality of how fortunate you are to have the life you lead. Like, you may well have problems, but everyone has problems, but it makes you grateful for what you have. And now you're just happy that maybe you have a roof over your head, or that you're healthy and you haven't got coronavirus, and like all these things you start to be maybe more aware and conscious of.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree, mate. Absolutely. And I think what sort of an important thing to remember is that before all of this coronavirus stuff happened, people were still struggling with their life, and people still didn't have a lot of things to be grateful for because they could never see it. So now is a time even more so when things are even tougher, and like you say, those things are taken away from us, go. Now is a time to really try and implement that gratitude within our day-to-day routine. You know, we are, most of us, lucky enough to have a roof over our head, exactly like you said. We are lucky enough to be having food on a table, maybe a few times a day, for some way more than that, but we're putting food on the table. You know, we're surviving, and I suppose it's those little things that we can be really grateful for. You know, we have an outdoor space that we've been given an option to go and utilize for one time a day, whether that be on a walk with your family or a run or a jog, whatever it might be. You know, we've got that capability, and we've got that access there for us. So be grateful for that. You know, other people are in much worse positions. If we go to Italy, Spain, America, you know, these people aren't even allowed out their homes to get any of those things. So, you know, we're not quite in the worst position yet. So whilst we've got that access to stuff that we can do rather than the stuff that we can't do, let's utilize it and let's do it.
One of the big things that I would say, like, respectfully, I'm quite actually an anxious person, even though I probably don't try it, because I tend to get overwhelmed because I come up with too many ideas to do too many things, and my to-do list becomes enormous, and I feel like it's like a sinking ship.
Yeah.
And but one of the best ways that I find to deal with something like anxiety and situations like this at the moment is to basically take action, because action will beat anxiety. So, like, for me, like, as soon as this happened, I'm sitting here with a whiteboard with lockdown projects written on the top of it with 21 tasks, and I'm trying to work through them all to give me something proactive to do, so that at the end of this phase, I'm going to come outside of it as a better person, learning more, a better business, be able to help my clients more. Like, it's about trying to utilize this time productively while you can, because respectfully, how often do you actually get the opportunity where you're forced to stay at home for 3 to 4 weeks and focus on yourself, your fitness, your health, your business? And like, now more than ever, like, this is actually when you should be prioritizing your fitness and health, because if you didn't have a reason before to have a strong, healthy body, like, you've got a pretty good reason now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. I love that list thing, that list and that board where you kind of brainstorm all your ideas on there. You know, we have been given the essence of time here. For a lot of us, time is readily available at the moment, and I feel like this is a really productive opportunity to get some work done and to sort out life's admin and to plan new things that we want to learn and start learning them. You know, the amount of people that, just for example, the amount of people I know that, you know, are doing training programs and have been doing nutritional training programs for the last few months before all this started, but really don't know what they're training or why those training principles are right for them, and why they've been told to do these things. So now is the time to go and grab a book or get on that internet and research the stuff that is in your life that you don't know about and you need to know about. You know, create a new interest, create a new hobby, something that can give you some new stimulus and some new challenge.
Here's a question for you, Aaron. What new hobbies have you started? Have you done anything?
What hobbies have I started?
Have you
I have. So I am. I'm a big fan of dinosaurs, Charlie.
Really? I was not expecting that.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I used to love dinosaurs. I'm a massive fan, and for many years, I just haven't even focused on dinosaurs. I've done no reading, you know. So I've picked up dinosaur books, and I've picked up like the internet for exploring stuff about dinosaurs that I just find fascinating. And it's a crazy subject. I know it's random, but it's something I really enjoy, and I haven't touched on for so many years because time and because life gets in the way. And, you know, it's not a priority to sit and read about a dinosaur, but now I've got that time, I'm doing it.
It's one of those things, you have to look at this as a glass half full situation, and like, this is a blessing that you now actually have these weeks at home to find out about dinosaurs, spend more time with your wife, and look at it as an opportunity. I actually did a podcast yesterday with Brian Keane, who's obviously like a big into mindset speaking, and he said he described the Chinese proverb of this situation is basically danger in Chinese, crisis in Chinese basically is a verb for danger / opportunity, which I thought was quite an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah,
which
really
it is for everything, from like a fitness perspective. So like myself, I'm trying a lot of new different things. From a nutrition perspective, I'm cooking and trying a lot of different things. From a business perspective, I'm trying and doing a lot of different things. And this is making everyone adapt, and humans are the most adaptable creatures on the planet. And this is an opportunity, if you have the mindset to make this an opportunity rather than a crisis. Whereas, like I'm sure we'll come on to, if you're going to sit there and watch the news for 10 hours a day, respectively, you are going to, like, this will become a crisis for you if you let it become a crisis.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. You're absolutely right. And I think the big summarization of all of this is, and I've said it quite a few people in the last week or two, is that we need to start as human beings be more solution focused as opposed to problem focused. There are a hell of a lot of positive things that can come out of this for a lot of people, but the longer that we spend worrying about the problems and the things that we can't do and the things that we don't have access to, the longer we're going to be in this rut of not being very productive and pretty much procrastinating about everything that we do from the minute we wake up in the morning to the moment we go to bed at night. But now is a great time to do such great things. And it's having that mindset. You're right. It's having that vision and that confidence in yourself to be able to go and do things differently and explore different things. As you well know, for a lot of people, that is a world that doesn't exist very often, where creativity and looking into things opportunely and really trying to give things a different perspective is hard to find. So I think it's about how do we empower people in the most difficult places to utilize this time like you and I use it. I think that's one of the things.
And that's why, to be honest with you, at the moment, I'm trying to put out so much information about this, in particular from a mental side of things, because the opportunities that people can have from this, if they use this time correctly, could be life-changing, whether that be from a physical perspective, getting in shape because you're now stuck at home, so it should be easier to stick to a diet. You now can train from home, you don't have to go to the gym, so you haven't got that excuse either. You should be an opportunity to improve your relationships with your family, should be an opportunity to try and learn new things, as we've already discussed. And you just have to look at it as an opportunity rather than a crisis, as we already said.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the ones that do that and maximize that process completely will come out of this and really be in a great place and really be in a good position to continue on with their life development and and take on the world, and that's what ultimately we want everyone to have the feeling of being able to do, I suppose.
100%. What would your next tip be then, Aaron, in terms of from the mental health perspective? So we've been through
so
structure perspective.
Yeah, staying connected, mate. So it's a huge one, isn't it? I am a very sociable person. I think most of us who work within or have an interest in the fitness industry probably deem socializing as one of our main things in life, one of our main attributes. And when that's taken away from you, how do we keep those connections and those networks in place? So encouraging people to spend more time with loved ones and friends and family over digital resources like this. Gone are the days now where we can't see each other unless we see each other physically. We have access to so many different platforms. I mean, we've got Zoom, we've got Skype, we've got Instagram Live, we've got FaceTime, we've got everything you can possibly imagine to keep connected with people. So use this time to make those phone calls and stay connected with people as best as you can. Now is also a good time to really utilize your close circle. So I talk about my circle quite a lot in a lot of my mindset stuff that I do, and knowing who you can trust and where your kind of close circle lies. And I suppose now is a time where you really need to utilize the people in your circle, because each and every one of them can add something different to your well-being and your mental framework. Not everybody will offer the same thing. But again, if you stay connected with those people, getting through this time will be much easier for you. Staying connected in regards to staying connected to the world as well. So not spending too much time on social media looking and worrying about coronavirus, but also getting out and enjoying the world, staying connected to nature, staying connected to the things that you believe in, your values, staying connected to your interests, staying connected to reading and cognitive learning and education and all of those different things, and trying to stay as grounded as you can with those different elements, because ultimately they are all different elements that make us who we are. And if we just remove them all to focus on one thing that really is offering us nothing but negative stimulus and negative, response, like coronavirus at the moment, it's just not going to be beneficial for anybody. So staying connected, mate, is one that I'd really promote to many.
I'd 100% agree with that. I think, and that's why, for example, actually with my clients, I am aware of a lot of them being isolated on their own. So what we're doing is doing extra video calls. We did a video call a week. So we did a video call this morning where we literally just talked about like, what positive habits have you learned this week? What new things have you tried? Like people have gone from like drawing, cooking, like singing, all sorts of different things that people are learning and trying new things and looking at the positives and just trying to communicate. And it wasn't even a call about fitness, but it was just about supporting people mentally, because the mental support on your journey to getting in shape is actually more important than the physical transformation, because you have to change your mindset first before you change your physical shape or physical body.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there, mate. And it's one thing that I talk to a lot of PTs about and have done for many years is exactly what you just said there. Before we start a program to change physical, we need to make sure that mental is in place first, and that mental is good and it's positive and it's ready to roll, and all of the different things are in place in order to take on that physical journey. Too many times I feel over the years I've seen or heard coaches, trainers, PTs, whatever, getting people on board, getting clients on board, and there's no question or there's no exploration of how are they feeling mentally, where are they at mentally, where's their head at right now before we even take on this 12-week challenge. Because if mentally you're not ready, a 12-week challenge or a 6-month program is going to be bloody hard work, and so we need to make sure that mentally we're ready. So I totally agree with you. I love the fact that it wasn't so much about fitness, it was just about your mental goals. And yeah, I loved it. I love that. And that's so important. So important.
So obviously we've got to number 3, stay connected. What would be up number 4?
Number 4, I've kind of touched on it a little bit, but it was kind of like hygiene. So looking after yourself and that sort of thing, keeping yourself hygienic.
I've got a serious question for you.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
What are you going to do in 12? Like, this is a debate I actually thought of pretty much straight away. It's a bit sad. What the hell am I going to do when I can't get my hair cut? Because I might have to shave my head in about a month, I reckon.
yeah. So it's funny you just say that. My wife on Monday said to me, "Mate, you need your hair doing. Like, I've missed my appointment because of going into isolation, and I'm due a snip. So I went on Amazon and bought a set of clippers. I'm going to trust the wife to do it when they arrive tomorrow. So that's my solution to getting my hair cut. But I'm slightly freaking out because I've only ever had one Turkish lad do my hair for the last 6 years. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to go down, but means must. I've got to give it a go. But it's a very good question.
It's yeah. Everyone should suspect a dubious haircut from me at some point, probably in the next few weeks, because it's going to end up happening. Either that or end up like growing a ponytail, I think, at this rate. But it was it's going to be.
I think you suit a ponytail, mate.
I tried to grow my hair long before, but I give up. I've never had the mineral.
Oh, right.
But now I've got an incentive. I can't get my hair cut correctly anyway.
Yeah, give it a go, mate. See how you feel with it. So yeah, hygiene. Just hygiene. That's really important, I think, because like I say, you can dip into a very lazy place when you're isolated and you've got a lot of time on your hands. And looking after yourself is one of the big pluses to self-wellbeing package. And if we don't do it, then we're gonna struggle.
Give you confidence and pride in yourself. So like,
correct.
Even actually, to respectfully, I noticed that when I first started working for myself from home, I actually not struggled with hygiene, but like I got a bit slack with like working in my pajamas and stuff in the morning for a bit, and then I'd go and get dressed. Like now, I get up, I like brush my teeth, showered, get dressed, and then start my day in that order, rather than like going a bit of work in pajamas, and like it just mentally like switching you on correctly and having the right habits and setting yourself up for success for the day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about setting those small goals, which is the next one. That tiny goal setting targets, and setting goals like that to get dressed, to do your hair, to to make yourself look good for the day. You know, all those different things will give us tiny little senses of accomplishment, tiny little senses of fulfillment throughout our day. And it's those things that build into our positivity bank. You know, we all have this very silent positivity bank in my mind. And when you start filling it with all this good stuff, by the end of the day, you feel good, and you continue to feel good into the next day as well. But if you're not doing all those things, as small or as little as they may be, you know, you're not going to be filling that positivity bank up, and that self-confidence and that feeling good about yourself bank. And so we need to keep on top of that. It's very easy to empty it, but it's much harder to fill it. And so we need to make sure that we're putting every bit of energy into making sure that that bank is nice and full with positive thoughts and confidence and good self kind of awareness.
Here's one that'll make you laugh. I know we mentioned earlier about this call that I did earlier with clients. Like, one thing I said to them is that every time I have a negative thought, I have to do 3 burpees because I hate burpees. So that's my incentive to stay positive and not have negative thoughts, is that if I have a bad thought, I have to do 3 burpees. I despise doing burpees. So
that's a good idea. Yeah, it's good, mate. And little things like that can go a long way for people, you know. That might not be what everybody wants to do, but there are certainly things that you can put in place like that to try and keep you in a positive place. It's a very overused comment, I feel, in a lot of kind of mental frameworks, you know, oh, just be positive. But you've got to have stuff to be positive about.
You've got to have context of the situation. It's easy to
say, of course.
Easy to say about someone else's situation, but if you don't understand where they're at in their life or their headspace, then it's irrelevant.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, being positive for a lot of people is that one of the hardest things that you can ask them to do. You know, if you're telling someone who is really, really vulnerable in a really dark place, really struggling with their well-being, really struggling with their mental clarity, to tell that person, oh, be positive. Come on, find some positivity. There ain't nothing. Life is at its lowest point. And, you know, I can't even get out of bed in the morning. So how am I going to sit here and tell you that anything is positive or find any positivity with anything? And that's the hard part. So if you can implement just tiny things into someone's day-to-day routine, where there is that little glimmer of hope and that little glimmer of positivity that they can hang on to day by day, hopefully that starts to build. Day by day, hopefully that starts to grow. Maybe 1 or 2 more things come into place that gives them another bit of positivity, and eventually you start building up this positivity bank. And like I say, your jar starts to fill up then, so you've got things in your stores to keep going.
100%. Have you got any more pearls of wisdom for anyone in this direct situation at the moment who maybe can't see the light at the end of the tunnel? Is a very direct question.
Yeah, I did. I had one that I did with. If you just bear with me 2 seconds. So I did a. What did I do here? Yeah, so we'll go back to the mindfulness and the gratitude one, mate. And I think I'd like to kind of promote to people trying to do some mindful activities. So not just being mindful, but kind of engaging with mindful activities. So things like music, things like dance, things like meditation, breathing sessions, all of those different things. They don't need to take too long, but they certainly go a long way into bringing you back into the present and allowing you just to clear your mind for 10, 15 minutes. So for me, for example, I make sure that in the mornings when I wake up, if I'm not feeling particularly great and I know that my anxiety is quite heavy, I'll write down 3 things in the morning that I feel like I'm grateful for in a journal, and I'll keep reverting back to them during the day. And I might have a few moments in the day where I sit and do some breathing activities, or I might listen to some Enya or some Hans Zimmer and just kind of like zone out completely from life's whatever's going on, and just breathe in deeply, breathe out deeply, you know, and really kind of come back into the here and now. And I think that's really important. You know, I think a lot of people are quite embarrassed to talk about meditation, and particularly big burly blokes, as we'll find in the fitness industry particularly. No bloke wants to talk about yoga, you know.
The most difficult thing, like, Ben Pekulski is a big believer in meditation, and I'm 100% a believer in it as well. In particular, like if you've got health issues like blood pressure, and like if you can't do something, it means you need to do it even more. And respectively talking open, like I've tried to use the Headspace app, and I managed to last about 2 days doing it, and I cannot find it so difficult to make myself sit down, because I'm almost like I need to do X, Y, Z. I'm a bit of a whirling dervish, but because I'm like that as a person, it means I'll benefit even more from that. So like putting it out that this is something I'm going to consciously try and make myself do more. I might punish myself with burpees maybe if I don't do
it. Yeah, but you're giving it a go, and I think that is the thing, isn't it? Coming out of your comfort zone and knowing that you are a bit of a busy bee. You know, I would relate quite easily with that. You know, I like to do things rather than do nothing and kind of breathe. For me, that's a very wasted thing. But I've learned to really believe that those little sessions can do a lot of good. And I think when you're quite hectic and you're quite blasé, sometimes like I am, you know, just coming into a moment where you can breathe and just focus on your breathing and nothing else can be really positive. And I don't care who you are, I think there's a value and a benefit to that for all of us in whatever capacity you can make that so.
100%. I think there's a huge amount of value for that in terms of everyone to take back. And I think it's one of those things, if you can't do something, it means you must do it, and you need to find a way to do it, because it's a saying in terms of training is you want to get strong where you're weak. And it's the same that from a mindset point of view. If you can't focus, then you need to find a way to focus. If you can't sit still and just clear your mind, you need to find a way to do that. And meditation is a very good way to do that, I think.
It is. And it doesn't matter how it looks so much. You know, we're not all experts, but there are some nice videos online, and there are some nice instruction guides that can give you some sort of, you know, idea about how to do these things, and you might find that they really benefit you. And if you haven't tried them and yet you're still struggling and looking for something to try, then maybe that is the option for you to give a go, you know, regardless.
100%. So we'll wrap things up there then. In terms of any more ongoing support, is there any way anyone can reach out to you personally if they need any advice or any help?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I'm quite happy to take DMs, no problem at all. If people need to have a chat about anything, that's absolutely fine. If people are in a kind of professional and clinical remit and they need professional and clinical help, then always, as I would say, your GP or a medical professional is certainly the person to go to rather than me. But if it's just hints and tips and guidance on things that you can do at home to improve your well-being, things that you can do with the family to improve your well-being and kind of control your anxiety a little bit, then yeah, absolutely, fire over the messages. And I'm more than happy to help where I can.
Where's the best place for them to send them?
Best place to send them, probably on my personal profile. So okay. If I leave the tag with you,
I'll pop that below.
So
you'll get in touch. So I hope everyone found the podcast insightful, helpful, and give you some mental clarity in terms of trying to get through this, which is a phase. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, please leave a 5-star review, and I'll also be picking one person at random who shares this podcast in the story and tags me to win a free place on the Shred and 8 and Sculpt and 8 program. Aaron, thank you so much for today. Really, really appreciate it, and appreciate your words.
You're very welcome, Charlie.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me, mate. I appreciate it. Take care, brother. Pleasure.